Off we go. As always, the sprint weekend starts a couple of days before fixing the car. This weekend, we had to put a new alternator on, which was supposed to bolt straight on, but didn't. That was a couple of days of fun. While I was there, it made sense to stick some shiny new bolts in the front cross member, which has never had them all in. And then I realised that my lovely high-tech radiator ducting had quite a few holes in it, which wouldn't be great for efficiency, so an equally high-tech fix was applied. Time to take the numbers off, which was all going great until the paint came off with it. So it was time to get the big guns out, and there was only one answer for it. Heat gun out, which gets the vinyl off pretty well, although leaves a lot of glue to clean up afterwards. But thankfully this went okay, so the rest of my doors stayed silver rather than the creamy primer underneath. And finally, no race weekend can be complete without the obligatory oil check, and it was time to pack the car. SGS boot struts trying to keep me out as always, and with a little bit of editing magic, the cavernous boot of the SS1 was full. Off we go. There she is. Sunglasses, obviously a critical part of setting off for any race weekend, as is a quite serious look on your face. This was the first time I'd ever been to Abingdon. I was greeted by a pretty big, open, expansive paddock, although no labelled bays, so I straight away grabbed a spot next to friend Mark in his Turbo MX-5. Got myself unpacked into the grass, the all-important aero of the headlights down, and then it was getting my own numbers on once again, hoping that they'd stay in place. Before I knew it, it was time to head over to scrutineering. Quite a big queue here, but they got through us all pretty quickly. Good fun array of cars waiting around with me, which was great. And after a quick sighter lap, which is pretty new, I was setting off. In front of me every run, there's this quite fun looking Mini Cooper, which had quite a tyre warming approach to its starts. And now we're on board with my first run at this track. Not a bad start, and I was greeted really quickly with a kind of track that I hadn't really been used to. It was really fast, really wide, with some seriously heavy braking zones. All braking from around 100 miles an hour into this first corner, not really knowing how big the exit was, and I found it was really quite big, so quite a few mistakes in this first run, but it's practice, that's what it's for. And I was pleased to find the surface wasn't quite as bad as everyone had told me it would be beforehand. There were some really tight corners like this 90-degree right, which we'll come back to. It will be important, that one. And overall, just some quite good fun, as you'll see for the rest of the clips here. After a not great approach to the final chicane, it was full throttle to the line, where I was pretty pleased overall. It was a really good fun run. No sooner had I finished my run, as it started raining, which was going to make quite a difference to the day. Also, I lost my number 1 on the right hand side, so it got replaced with a nice line of gaffer tape. Wasn't long before I'd have to be going, and it really had got the track fully wet, which added some slowness to my good friend in the Mini getting off the line, and as you'll see shortly, it did for me too. I really wasn't sure how the car was going to behave on this surface in the wet, so it was a pretty cautious run, but overall really quite good fun. sliding the car around the wet is always going to be a good laugh. Unfortunately, I had the GoPro on the wrong setting here, so it smooths everything out and makes it look like I was a lot more cautious than I was. Even though it was a wet run and not representative of the full pace I could do, that was the first timed run, which gave me a 124 second, over 2 minutes loop around Abingdon, but it did put me second in class overall, though I was going to have to push a lot harder if I was going to maintain that on the next run. Everything was properly dry, so this was my first real hit at this fast track, and it went pretty well. Decent start, and I really felt like I was flying through everything. There was a little bit left on the table, but you can see the race box display as I go, just ticking down into the negative, showing me that I was quicker than the practice run this morning. And even at this early section, already 1.5 seconds up. Hard braking in here, and just more and more time coming off. It was feeling good. The car was gripping well. I was having a lot of fun, and there was some on the table, but not that much. Some slightly odd lines in some places, but it seemed to work pretty well. Excepting the slightly botched gear change into third there. Once again, really quite cautious on the final chicane, but enjoying that final blast to the line. Did enjoy that. It was a 114 second run, which put me in third in my class. Not quite as good as the previous run, but still not bad considering the cars I was up against. Final run, felt like there was a bit of pressure on because everyone was quite close on my heels. I didn't set off with quite as much tyre smoke as my good friend at the Mini in front of me, but took a pretty aggressive turn in. And that set the scene for the lap overall, really. I was really going for it. There was something a bit wrong with the race box because it kept showing that I was 4 seconds slower, which wasn't right. And I really messed up this first corner. I came in so fast, didn't really know what I was doing. Went into second rather than third. Took a terrible line through it. And from there on, I was a little bit rattled. So I came in here far too fast. Thought I was actually going to go straight through the barriers. But thankfully just clipped my mirror, which was still attached, but then slowed back onto the power and put myself into fifth instead of third. I pushed everything I could to bring that time back, with some pretty good running actually. It felt okay. Again, kind of went in second here for no apparent reason. Clearly not really quite in the right state of mind, but really on the limits of grip and the track through the final section, which felt good and really was quite quick. Silence in the car was telling. I was cursing myself because I'd gone a couple of temps slower, but really quite brutalised the car with some horribly crunched gear shifts, bit of slipped clutch, and all round not really worth the abuse of the car. But that's racing. I had just about caught up with the Mini, so he probably had a worse run than me. All said and done, even though I hadn't improved on my previous run, it did leave me third overall. But I had this nagging feeling that something a bit weird had happened on that last run, so I looked back at the footage and compared it with my third run. Did you catch it? Well done if you did. That barrier was not in the same place. If I'd taken that same line and it was my second run, wouldn't have hit anything. Oh well. With that, we close.